Hi, my name is Fernando, and this is my speech assignment for my class, Interpersonal Communication. And I just want to thank you for joining me. Well, let's get right into it. What if I told you that there was a device in your home that is potentially hazardous to your children? I'm sure that would get your attention because as parents, we love our children and we'll do whatever we have to do to protect them. Well, unfortunately, there is. And that device comes in the form of television. In fact, Dr. Clark Pearson reveals that television is omnipresent in most children's worlds. 99% of American households own a television, and an average family has 2 or more sets. Television is viewed more than 6 hours a day in a home and 21 to 28 hours a week in the average American home. That's a lot of television that's being viewed by our children. Studies have shown that children who watch an excessive amount of television usually struggle from being obese. They struggle from obesity, being overweight. They become antisocial, and they withdraw from society, and they also struggle academically. And I'd like to touch on a few of those points because there are red flags that kind of show up in our child's life that we need to address. And the first one is our kids become a little obese or they become a little overweight. Why? Because they're spending a lot of time in an inactive activity. And when our kids usually watch TV, they're usually snacking on something, eating ice cream, eating chips, some unhealthy food. They raid the pantry, and there they are, sitting down, not doing anything physical at all. And if that's not enough, they're being bombarded by all these ads of very unhealthy foods. And so our kids, they're sitting there, they're inactive, they're snacking, and then they just desire all this unhealthy food. So we need to be careful, and we need to watch, really limit the time that our kids are being inactive and watch what they're eating as they watch television. The next thing is our children tend to be a bit antisocial. Okay? And here's why. TV is an inactive, it's an inactive activity, as I mentioned. There's very, very little action that goes on, and as Dr. Robert Putnam of Harvard University suggests, that the more television an individual watches in his life, the less likely that person will attend a public meeting, write to Congress, go out and volunteer, go to church, play in a sports league, or work on a community project. Why? Because they're just so used to being inactive. And when they're inactive, they have a hard time. When it's time to go out and interact with peers, they struggle with that because they're tied up for an excessive amount of hours during the week, and they're tied up, watching and being in a fantasy world. And that can be very dangerous because our children, they need to go out, they need to volunteer, they need to learn to interact, they need to learn to speak and communicate with their peers. And being inactive in television is not helping them at all. The next point is academics. Studies have shown, according to the U.S. Department of Education publication titled Strong Families, Strong Schools, academic achievement drops sharply for children who watch television 10 hours or more a week. Their academic drops drastically. Studies have shown that. In Judith Van Evera's book titled Television and Child Development, from the ages of 6th to 12th grade, California students who were heavy viewers of television scored less in their reading, their writing assessments, and their math. They scored a lot less than those students who viewed less television or less to none television a week. So we know that our children, they struggle academically. So our children, they suffer and they're struggling, and it can be very potentially dangerous and hazardous for our children to watch a lot of TV. They may struggle with obesity, they may be a little antisocial, and they may struggle academically. So let me give you a few suggestions to help you out, and what I practice in my home and what I feel you should practice as well. And here are some guidelines and some suggestions. And number one is keep TV out of the children's rooms. Not only does that even isolate them even more from even amongst our family, but we don't know the content of what's being viewed when they're locked up in their room. I don't recommend you to allow TV to be viewed in their rooms. Turn off television during meals. The second point, turn off television during meals. Over a hot meal is the time where we really need to interact and communicate with our children. How was your day? What did you do at school today? You know, but many homes in America have converted their family room coffee table to their dinner table, and that communication is going away, and it can be very dangerous. Turn off the TV during the meals. Have television. Have a meal like a family should have a meal together at the dinner table. The third suggestion I have is don't allow kids to watch TV during homework. Their attention should not be fragmented. They shouldn't be thinking about what Hannah Montana's doing, what Scooby-Doo's doing. They should be solely concentrated and focused on their work. And the fourth and final suggestion I have is treat TV as a privilege to be earned and not a right. And it's not only television. If time permitted, we can go into the game console, the internet, and social networking. Those are all privileges that need to be earned. Look, if you finish your homework, then you can watch television. If you finish your homework and you do all your chores, then you can play a video game. But those are things that need to be earned. Those are privileges. They need to be earned. They're not something that you need to, a right that they have. Make it as something they need to work for. So, in conclusion, I know you love your child. I love my child. You love your children. And we want to do what's best for them. We want to protect them. And the best way we can protect them from the harm that television can do to them is by learning to monitor that use. Thank you for your time, and God bless.